So a good while ago, I had did a video on Sofrito and Recaito, and particularly about how you can make it at home. It's better for you. It tastes better, and you know, there's stuff in the jarred stuff that can give migraines, headaches, and other stuff like MSG. So I want to do a full video because before it was like on my WhatsApp status, so it was like cut up and everything. But basically, Recaito and Sofrito, let me cover the brand. They come in like these long jars or bigger. This particular one is called Sofrito because it's red and has tomato paste. But I'm going to make the green one, which is known as Recaito or Recaito. The terms are sometimes interchangeable depending who you speak to, but whatever. This is mostly used by Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, and it's used, other Hispanic and Latino nationalities use it too. It's mostly used as a cooking base for, let's say, for soup, for stew, for beans especially, or even for other stuff. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to make your own Recaito / Sofrito. Okay, so this is what you're going to need to make your Recaito. We have 2 bundles of cilantro. If you're white, you probably say cilantro, which is fine. These here are 2 bundles of culantro. Sounds like cilantro, but they're not. They are coriander leaf, as opposed to the seeds that their ground seeds are using Hispanic cooking too. We got 3 onions. I happen to just, you know, buy white and red. I really like red onions. We have 2 green peppers. We're gonna chop up, dice up. I also have some red pepper. I'm gonna use that was in the freezer. I have a bunch of peppers that, you know, usually I slice them up and put them in the freezer, save them. So we're gonna put some of those red peppers. We're also gonna use garlic. I would say about maybe 2 heads. This is ajicito dulce. They're usually just, you know, $2-3, right? You have to be very careful. These are like mini Dominican peppers. These are grown in the USA though. Same thing. See, it was barely $3. I have some that are frozen, so I'm going to use the frozen ones. But you want to be careful because the Jamaican ones that are hot look the same way. So when you buy these, make sure you get the ajicito dulce. If it's grown in the US or wherever, it's fine. Just as long as ajicito dulce, or it'll also say Dominican mini pepper. All right? You buy the Jamaican ones, it's fine, but expect a spicy surprise. We're going to use some olive oil, salt, and black pepper. Alright, so here I have all my veg inside of this sink with water, and I put in a fruit and vegetable wash that I really like. You know, just to get any potential stuff off of it. It really works. I wish I could tell you the brand. You put it in some water and you feel the waxes and stuff come off. So I got my onions, my peppers, my cilantro, culantro, and the ajicitos are down there somewhere, soaking in this. I like to keep it here 5 minutes, or if you're paranoid like me, 10 minutes. You know, I really wish I could tell you the brand of the fruit and vegetable wash I use, but I don't want to get sued. So let's just say that when Joe trades with me, he gives me a good deal. Now, is there a method to the madness of how to put this together? I would say yes. They're rinsed. They're ready to go. I've rinsed them again, rinsed off the wash. In my opinion, you don't have to do this. This is just a friendly suggestion. Leave the vegetables that are messier for last. So, for example, the peppers, you know, you have to seed them if you don't want the seeds. And, you know, you have to take the skins off the onions. And the mini ajicitos also have seeds. If you're not going to use the seeds, I suggest you start with the leaves first. So I'm going to start with actually not with the leaves first, I did the garlic first. And that's actually not 2 heads of garlic. I used 1.5 heads because I'm going to give some to some people and I don't want them to have a lack of appreciation for my appreciation of garlic. So again, some of this stuff is like to taste, right? If you want less cilantro, use less, more culantro, more, you know, you can mess around with it. So I have my garlic there sitting waiting, and it's actually good, I've heard, to crush garlic and let it react to the air. Supposedly more phytonutrients are created. That's some science for you. So next, I'm gonna chop up the cilantro and culantro and put it to the side. Alright, so here I have two bundles, one of cilantro and one of culantro. I took them and I kind of bent them. You see, this is supposed to be like this. I bent it, and I'm gonna just chop along, right, the length. The same thing with the cilantro. I took a bundle of it, I bent it, I'm gonna chop it along. There are people who don't like the stems, they don't use the stems, but I've heard from a nutritionist that it's good to eat the stems of vegetables because they have a lot of good nutrition. So, you know, and I see no difference with the leaf and the stem when I put it into a blender and, you know, blend it up. So I'm going to include the stems. So just to show you how I chop the cilantro and the culantro, it's no biggie. I'm just going to go along carefully. So here's our culantro. People also cut the end of the stem off of the culantro, but I use it, okay? If you want to, you can go over it again, but again, you're gonna put it in a blender or in a food processor. So, I mean, it's kind of up to you. Alright, so we're gonna put this culantro to the side and work with the cilantro. Same thing with the cilantro. Watch your fingers. And you're going to make sure, of course, that the rubber band is not in there. The rubber band from when you bought it from the market. Here I've reached the stems, and I'm going to use the stems. I'm going to go over it again, it's fine. But not really necessary, especially if you have a good blender. Okay, next are the ajicitos, the mini Dominican peppers. So basically, I mean, some of them were frozen, so they look a little worse for wear coming out the freezer, but they're fine. I'll just usually like chop them in half and throw them into the mix. Some people take the seeds out. I definitely take that stem. I take that off, you know, and at least chop them in half or in quarters. Again, it's going into a blender or food processor. If you want to stand there and take the seeds out, well, you can run it under cold water and take the seeds out. Yeah, but fairly simple. The main thing I would do is take that stem off, because to me, that stem does change the flavor of it. Okay. I do not expect you to watch me cut all of these, so I will accelerate the video. Next are the onions. Alright. I mean, again, I sound repetitive. It's going into a food processor, so it doesn't really matter how you cut it. But the way I do cut onions is in half, right? I take at least one layer off. The top of it off. Being that, again, we're gonna like blend it up, I can coarsely chop it. If I was making like a dish where it was to be diced or something, I would cut it up differently, but again, unnecessary. This is fine. Put this to the side. I'll show you again. Get that top part off. Get one layer off. If it has a bruise, you can take another layer off if you're picky. But it's unnecessary. But I'll do it for you because I care for you. Alright? That's fine. Don't worry, I'll do the white onion too. Relax. I get so emotional making recaito. because it's delicious. Okay, so I wanted to show that concerning the green or red pepper, the seeds really don't bother me, right? But to me, what changes the taste is like this white part of it where the seeds grow out of. So that's why, I leave these for last so that I can use the sink area for my refuse, for my vegetable refuse. So that was the reason why I leave the peppers for last, and the onions, so that I have that space so I can, take all this stuff out, take the peel off, and so forth and so on. So, same thing, I chop up the peppers, rustically, because, our blender's gonna help us do the rest. And my pepper, I'm gonna clean it under, take that stuff under running water, stuff out. And just, chop them up however, doesn't matter. See, there's a couple of seeds there, doesn't bother me. Alright. Okay, so what's next? Well, what I have here is all of my veg. I have this big plastic container. I don't know what I did with it though. I was gonna use that, but we'll use this. This is fine. I got my blender ready and my seasonings. Now, back in the day, what I used to do is I would take the mixture and put it into the blender, blend it and season it as I went along. But I've since grown, and now I think that the best thing to do is to season it before you put it in. And that way you save yourself a step or two. Now, salt and pepper to taste. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't. One thing I didn't mention in the beginning, because it's not part of a conventional recaito recipe, is some oregano. But that's one of my secret ingredients. Well, it is my secret ingredient, so I'm going to add a little oregano to it as well. Ooh, that's not a little bit, but that's fine. And I'm going to give this a, mix it up and put it into a blender. And we want to make it into the consistency of, let's say, like a smoothie. Okay? So I'm going to mix this up and show you what the next step is. Okay, so everything's just about ready to go. My veggies are mixed up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grease the skids with a little olive oil, kind of like what the admissions officers did in the college admission scam. Grease the skids. And I'm gonna, take a scoop of our vegetable mixture and put it in. Being that this blender's been used for like a long time, I have to do a bit at a time, which is fine. So I'm gonna start with about that. Well, I can do a little more. I'm gonna start with about that much. I'll blend it, and I'm gonna show you what it should look like. I'm gonna blend it this amount, then add more to it and go along, so as not to, overpower this wonderful blender. And I will show you what it should look like. Okay, so this batch is done, and I want you to see, I'm gonna use this container. It should have the consistency of kind of like a smoothie. And what I'm gonna do with this is a glass container. Ooh, I spilled a little. I'm gonna put this either in the back of the fridge or in the freezer. And man, this will keep for months. This will keep for a long time. Alright? So, this is how to make recaito. Do you want me to show you how to make sofrito? Sofrito is basically the same thing. basically the same process, except it doesn't have as many ingredients. I can read to you right now from our store brand. They include tomato paste, green peppers, onions, culantro, olive oil. They put ham and bacon flavor, which is basically like the fat, right? Brown sugar, which you can skip. And there was another thing I had noticed here. Salt. Did I mention salt? And that's basically it. And paprika and garlic powder. And oregano and black pepper. So basically it's kind of similar to this. Same process. Maybe I'll do a video for sofrito. And you same thing. You put it in a blender, mix it all up. You know, want to make sure your veg is well, washed. And that's it. Alright? Alright, I'll do a separate one for sofrito. Alright, relax.